Okay. All right. I'm assuming we're live. Hello, everybody.
Mm.
So today, Kay and I actually have a great presentation that we've both put together about scams. Genealogy scams are real, and we see them all over the place. And we want to make sure that you guys know exactly what is going on. Whoop. Okay. Let me mute that. So that you guys don't get scammed. So I'm going to do the first part. If you guys don't know me, I'm Jon Marie Pearson, and I handle the social media aspect for the society. And this is Kaye Ford. And Kaye, you can tell them Kaye does everything: membership, publicity.
Not everything. Uh, I do a few things. Yeah. Membership, publications, nominations and elections this year. Um, mm,
Yeah,
IGS newsletter. Yeah. Uh-huh.
a lot.
There's a few
Okay.
things.
So we are going to dive in, and let me share my screen would help.
Oh, let me see.
Oh,
Do I need to give you, there you go.
yep. There we go. Okay. And we'd love for you guys to share in the comments where you're watching from. And if you have any questions along the way, just go ahead and post them in the comments, and we'll kind of go from there. So you should be able to see my screen. All right. Let's see. So genealogy is built on seeking our ancestors' stories. We search because we want to understand where we came from. We dig through records because we want to know who the people were. We study historical events, places that they shaped the lives of our ancestors. And so we're very passionate about this journey that we're on. We look at census records and wonder, about what the house looked like. We read the military records and imagine, what effects the military service had on their lives after they got out. We trace migration patterns, and we try to picture the roads that they traveled. So this work is not just casual curiosity. It's deeply personal. It's emotional. Um, it is identity. And scammers know this. And so because of that, this is why we put this presentation together. Um, the scammers understand how strong our desire is to uncover the hidden connections, the long lost relatives, forgotten inheritance, secret stories, royal bloodlines, missing branches of trees. We are all wanting to kind of find those pieces. So they use that to pull from. They craft messages that sound like potential breakthroughs. They will they design emails that are going to pique our interest and our curiosity, and they're also going to create an urgency around being about you wanting to be the first in the family line to discover something new. But here's the important truth: that same passion that drives us to uncover our ancestors' stories must be balanced with the same discipline we use when evaluating historical sources. If a document's not cited, we question it. If records contradict one another, we investigate it. If the story sounds too clean, too dramatic, too perfect, we pause for a minute and kind of, evaluate those. So we must bring that same instinct into the digital world because our desire to discover is powerful. And anything powerful can be exploited. So now let's move into the most common genealogy related scams. The inheritance and long lost relative windfall. This one is not new. This is probably one of the oldest scams in existence. What has changed is just the packaging. It's been adapted for the genealogy world today. And who knows, maybe some of our ancestors fell for some of these scams. Here's how it usually works. Someone contacts you unexpectedly. It may be an email, it may be a letter they mailed. It may even be a message through a genealogy platform or even a social media platform. They claim you have connections to a deceased wealthy relative, which we would all love to get. And perhaps the person had no immediate heirs. And so it led to you. Perhaps you share the same surname or something like that. Perhaps your identity was found through DNA testing. The messages often sound formal. They claim to be an attorney, a bank official, a foreign representative handling an estate. And then comes the hook. You must act quickly to claim the inheritance. And that's how they get you. They like to push you because if you act quickly, you're not going to stop and think. So they'll tell you before the funds can be released, there's a processing fee, a legal fee, a transfer cost, a tax payment, something small compared to the large amount that they're telling you that you could potentially receive. This is known as an advanced fee scam. The Federal Trade Commission has reportedly warned about inheritance scams like this, and you can find a space on their website where they talk about this. Fraudsters pose as attorneys, officials, and they ask victims to pay the money, or well, I call them victims because they are kind of victims, but they ask the supposed person that's going to be inherited, which would be you, to pay with a money order to receive the money that doesn't even exist. So the inheritance is fictional, but the fees are real. And so that fee, normally compared to what you could potentially inherit, is what gets some people because they think, well, if I pay this small amount, I get a huge amount. That detail is to lower your guard. That what they'll do is they may say your name appeared in a genealogical base. They may refer to ancestral research. They may even mention DNA testing. So the red flags. First, you're contacted unexpectedly about money. Second, the urgency is emphasized that you must act now or you're going to lose this opportunity. And then the third is that you're told you must send money in order to receive money. And fourth, they discourage you from speaking to others. They may say that this must remain confidential or that discussing it could delay the process. That is not how legitimate estate settlements work. Real estate matters do not require random heirs to wire money to file a claim. So you should never be doing that. That's just, like I said, it's just not how it works. Legitimate attorneys do not push people into secrecy or immediate payment. As genealogists, we understand the extraordinary claim required to provide solid evidence. And so an unexpected inheritance tied loosely to your surname, that's an extraordinary claim. So pause, evaluate, and verify independently. The excitement of the possibility is what's going to trigger some people to this scam. And so, I mean, we would all love to receive millions of dollars or a castle or something like that. But once you recognize that pattern, you're able to break it. And so you're not forking out money that you're going to potentially lose. So then let's talk about another scam that's been circulating probably for quite a while also, but not as long as the inheritance one. So this one predates email. It predates social media. It even predates most online genealogy platforms. So companies have mass-produced books about surnames filled with generic history and recycled content that they pulled from other potentially maybe books that were on the market. And then they repackage it and they remarket it as if they did the research and they put the book together. So this is sometimes referred to as scam genealogy books. So here's how the pitch usually sounds. They'll reach out to you because they're normally looking for your surname, and they think, if this person's researching, they might be interested in this book. They'll say, we discovered your family crest. We uncovered your family history in Europe. Your surname traces back to nobility. Now, this feels exciting. It feels validating. It feels like someone has done deep research on your specific lineage. But here's the truth. Most surnames, if you think about it, do not come from a single coat of arms. You'll see sometimes at different fairs, like medieval time fairs, stuff like that, they sell the coat of arms. They're like, if your surname is this is your coat of arms. But it's not true. And so coat of arms there can be several ones in a family, or your family might not even have one. But some people fall prey to this as well. Let's see. So when a company claims that there's one official crest for everyone who shares your last name, that's just historically inaccurate. What these companies often do is they gather a broad historical information about the surname, sometimes from a public source. And then, like I said, they'll repackage it, and they're going to want to make it feel personal, like they put it together for you. They may include a decorative crest, some generic migration path, and a few paragraphs about the history. But like I said, they did not do the history. There are some legitimate ones, but you really got to question so you don't buy a coat of arms, show everybody, and then find out that wasn't your family's coat of arms. So they are not verifying your connection to anything in anything that they're putting together, like say books. If it sounds personalized, but requires no research from you, it's probably not personal. So you just need to keep that in mind. So especially if there's no sources, because real genealogy requires documents, dates, locations, relationships, and evidence that's going to tie to a specific individual. And that requires a lot of work, as we all know, since we have been on that path. So if a company can generate your family history instantly, only on your surname and your credit card number, that's not research. It's just a marketing tactic. This is a scam. It's less dramatic than the inheritance fraud, but it gives us a lesson that we really need to, when we see these things, don't jump. We need to distinguish between, I guess, what's called decorative history and documented lineage. But because we're genealogists, we know how to do this. Now let's move into something much more modern. So phishing emails pretending to be from genealogy platforms. This is increasingly common. Here's normally the pitch. You'll receive an email that looks like it came from a major platform, such as Ancestry, Family Search. You'll see the logo, which is really easy for them to try to copy or download from somewhere. So it's going to look very official. The language sounds as professional. The message might say your account needs to be verified. Your password must be reset. Your payment method has expired. Your account will be suspended if you don't automatically act. So this phishing form is a fraudulent communication design that steals your login credentials and your personal information. The goal is simple. They just want to obtain your username, and they want to get your password. And they also want, of course, sometimes your billing information. And as genealogy accounts are valuable, they contain personal data, family trees, and sometimes personal DNA information and payment information. So like I said, these emails are all created to drive like urgency, to override your caution. So what are some red flags? Look closely at the sender's address. And this is not even just genealogy related. I have gotten these from other businesses as well. So look closely at the email address. A lot of times it just might be a slight misspell. Maybe it's going to be like one letter off in the word, like they misspelled the word ancestry, maybe, or they put in an extra character. A strange domain that is not the official company website, that's a red flag. And then also notice the greeting. Does it say dear customer instead of your name? Many legitimate platforms will address you directly because they have that ability to be able to, even if they're sending mass emails, it'll still address you because it's coming from their website. So pay attention to urgency though. Messages that threaten immediate suspension or demand action within hours are designed to create panic, because when we panic, again, we don't think. And most importantly, you can also hover over the link. It doesn't work for all the emails I've seen. And some people said they haven't been able to do that. But if you hover over the link, sometimes it'll tell you exactly where it's going to take you. And you can see where it's going to lead you. And chances are, if it's a spam, you're not going to recognize that. But the best thing that I tell people to do is never log in through a link that was sent through unsolicited email. If you receive a message about your account, don't click on it. Just instead go to the actual browser. That, if it's like Ancestry or Family Tree, go to those accounts, log in, and see if anything comes up. It's going to tell you instantly if there's a problem with your account, because if there's truly is an issue, it'll be on your account dashboard. So this is just a small habit that breaks the entire phishing strategy. And this is one that a lot of people end up falling for. So as genealogists, again, we're trained to slow down, examine the details. The same careful eye that you use to analyze handwriting in the, say, 1870 census record can be used to analyze the email headings in 2026. So this is very important. So let's talk about DNA match outreach. This is more of a newer one, just because DNA is still kind of new. So most DNA connections are genuine. Many of us have meaningful connections to cousins, long lost relatives. We've had life-changing conversations because that match notification. Cousins reconnect, stories surface, branches finally link together. DNA has opened the door, though, that paper records never could. And so a lot of times when this happens, it opens the door for scammers. Scammers understand that this is something important to us. Again, DNA feels intimate. It feels scientific. It feels authoritative. It feels personal in a way that few other tools do. So when someone appears as a genetic match, it lowers our guard instantly. So here's a pattern to watch for. A new DNA match reaches out. The initial message may seem normal enough, but very quick and a little pushy in the conversation, that they want to have the conversation off the platform. A rule of thumb that I always follow, and I always recommend other people follow, is don't take that immediately off the platform and go like somewhere else. WhatsApp is an app for connecting with people. And a lot of scammers try to push people to go to the WhatsApp. And so you want to, if they're pushing, then, slow it down. They may start asking for your personal email address right away. And so I always leave, if I give them information, I want to see what information they give back. Don't go, even though you might want to share everything, slow down, let them fill in some gaps to see if you're truly connected. They may even request your phone number right away. They may ask for identity documents, such as your birth record or any record like that. In rare but serious cases, they may ask for financial help or money tied to some dramatic story. Again, the speed is the signal. So healthy DNA connections, they unfold gradually. You exchange information about shared ancestors, you compare trees, you discuss locations and surnames. You verify that information before you take that next step and move it off into, either email or a phone conversation. Suspicious outreach often skips that process. So if you get an email and it's not shown as public in one of the DNA platforms, you're going to want to question that, because how did they get that email? So again, excitement is not evidence. So you need to really kind of keep an eye on that. Real family connections can wait. Scammers rely again on speed. So let's talk about fake research or fake record services and document retrieval scams. This is one preyed directly on our determination to find that one missing document. Sometimes scammers pose as independent archivists. Sometimes they pose as foreign record specialists. Sometimes they present themselves as military record retrieval agents with special access. The message usually sounds really promising. They claim to have exclusive access to rare documents. They suggest that they may be able to obtain a record that is otherwise difficult to access. And they may even imply that they already located something connected to your ancestor. And again, here it is. They're asking for a fee. So again, they're approaching you when it should be that you're approaching them. So that's a huge red flag. And now it's important to say this clearly. There are legitimate researchers out there, and Kaye is going to talk a little bit about this in her section. There's also legitimate archives. There are real document retrieval services that charge for their time and service. Again, you're reaching out to them. They aren't going and looking for you. Legitimate archives are clear about their fees and fee structures. You can normally find them on the website. They publish them openly. They do not do, like I said, they don't do cold messaging to researchers promising secret access. They do not claim exclusive backdoor entries into public institutes, because that would be illegal. So scammers, again, are relying on your urgency and the exclusivity of the services that they are offering or pretending to offer. They create the illusion that if you do not act quickly, you will lose access to something rare and valuable. And here's the questions you want to ask. Is this a recognizable, archive or business? You can find it listed on official government websites or institutional websites. Does this person have credentialed digital footprint beyond a single email address, a professional website, verified reviews, a presence in established genealogical communities? Or is everything centered around just that one message asking for a payment? Again, as genealogists, we trace the origins of documents, we verify repositories, we cite our sources. Scammers depend on isolation. They want you interacting only with them. So if they give you a name and you say, oh, let me reach out to the archives just to verify everything, if they're telling you, no, 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 don't do that, it's a scam. The real archives are also operating in daylight, even though we do have different ones around the world, so the hours might differ. So if they're saying they're in the US and it's 3 a.m, I can guarantee no one's at the archive at 3 a.m. Trying to email you. And remember, no legitimate record repository operates like a secret club. If a document exists in a public archive, there is a document, there's a verifiable path to accessing it. But secrecy in accessing is usually, again, another red flag. So let's look at another modern pattern. So social media genealogy experts sell instant solutions. We live in a world that loves speed. quick results, instant answers, overnight success. But genealogy never worked that way. We are getting faster at uncovering our ancestor stories, but it's still a process. Their pitch is often they'll reach out to you, pay me, and I'll unlock your entire lineage back to royalty. We know that's not how it works. Or I can trace your family back 500 years in a week. No way. I guarantee a link to noble ancestry. Nope. Even though we'd love to, it's just not going to happen. Genealogy is slow because history is complicated and we got to make sure we have the right records. And records are incomplete, names are reused, borders shift, documents are lost, there's spelling changes, family migrations, wars have destroyed archives. Serious research, again, requires time, document, and source evaluation. So the red flag here certainly is without evidence. Any legitimate professional genealogist will talk about documentation, proof standards, conflicting interests, and research plans. They will explain the limitations. They will cite the sources. They will not guarantee that you're connected to royalty. They will not promise, a fully documented lineage. So the issues is anyone selling a fantasy disguised as history, it's not your family history. They're just offering you a story. And so you want to keep that in mind. It can be entertaining, it can be flattering, but again, without evidence, it is not history. So before I hand it over to Kaye, I thought I would quickly talk about the psychology behind the scams. They know how we work. We've talked about the specific scams, the inheritance claim, the fake crest, the phishing emails, the suspicious DNA outreach, and the instant royalty promises. But underneath all of them is something deeper. It's psychology. Scams work because they know how to trigger predictable emotional levers. They're working on hope, urgency, scarcity, authority, and emotional connections. So hope might sound like, what if this is the breakthrough that I've been waiting for? Or they might create urgency with act now or lose the opportunity. Scarcity might sound like this is a rare record. This offer is limited. This inheritance must be claimed immediately. Authority sounds like I'm a lawyer, I'm a record specialist, I represent an archive. Then to use the emotional connection, we share DNA, we are family, this is a part of your heritage. These are not random tactics. These are the same persuasive tools used in marketing and behavioral science. They are powerful because they bypass the logic and they go straight to your emotions. And so when you understand that lever, you can see the manipulation. The moment you feel your pulse quicken or your curiosity spike, your fear of missing out, take that moment and pause. And here is the encouraging part. Genealogists are already trained to be skeptics. So we question, again, census records, we compare sources, we look at inconsistency, we analyze handwriting, evaluate informant. We ask who created the record and why. So we're already practicing that critical thinking every time we open a document. And so we need to keep, it's simple. Think about using this discipline into your digital communication. So an email can be a source, a message is a source, social media posts are sources. But you still need to ask the same questions. Who created this? What is their motivation? Where's the evidence? Can this be independently verified? Again, scammers rely on that speed and emotions. And genealogists, we need to use that patience and evidence that we are always using and use it towards the scammer. So when you slow down and evaluate the psychological levers being pulled, you kind of can gain control. And that's the difference between reacting and research. So now I am going to pass this over to Kaye. If you're ready, I'll on share.
Thank you very much. And it's kind of sad that we have to talk about something like this.
It is. It's very sad.
Mm-hmm. But it's out there and it happens. So, yep. My part of this, I was going to talk about how you can shield yourself against these scams and what you can do if you feel like you have been scammed. So I'm going to let's see. Make sure I do this correctly. Let's see here. Okay, can you see this? From Genealogy Scams?
Yeah, it's cut off though. Like it's not showing the
Okay.
whole slide.
Let's see. See if this helps.
The top is still a little bit cut off. Oh,
Okay.
there we go. Perfect.
Is that better?
Yep, that's better.
Okay, let me see. Is it still the whole screen?
Yep, it is.
Okie dokie. All righty. So,
Actually, it's showing the next slide too, though. I don't know if you want that with your notes.
Oh, let's see. No, let me see. That's what I was trying to. Okay, let's start over.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, let me see. Okay, I just wanted to. That is so strange. Let's see. Oh no, I'm sorry.
You're good. This is the real world we're in.
Yeah. How's that look?
Okay, perfect. You're all set.
Does that look a little better?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Woo. Okay. Shielding yourself from genealogy scams and misinformation. So be on the lookout. We've just learned about a myriad of ways that shady people use genealogy or family history to scam you or fool you into handing over your hard-earned money. So how can you protect yourself from these scammers or from misleading information? And if you have been scammed, what is your recourse? So first, you need a plan of attack. This requires some due diligence on your part before entering into a too good to be true type of deal. I have a 4-phase plan of attack to share with you. Let's begin with phase 1, vet a professional. We'll revisit this infographic at the conclusion of the presentation. So how do you find a professional researcher or genealogist? I would suggest starting with 3 different organizations based in the US. The Board for Certification of Genealogists, or BCG, and there's their URL. The International Commission for the Accreditation of Professional Genealogists, otherwise known as ICAP-Gen, and there's their URL. And the Association of Professional Genealogists, or APG, and there's their URL. I've displayed their logos and website URLs for you. BCG and ICAP-Gen offer credentials after rigorous testing. So that'd be the CG, the CGG and CGL, and an AG and AGL. APG is a membership organization. All three organizations have codes of ethics to which their associates and members must adhere, as well as in continuing education requirements. The Register of Qualified Genealogists, or the RQG, let's see, there it is, also offers credentials, the QG. To be a member of RQG, one must have completed their studies and earned a postgraduate degree or an MA through one of 4 universities: the University of Strathclyde, the University of Limerick, the University of Dundee, or the Institute of Heraldic and Genealogical Studies. So if you think those sound international, you are correct. You want to match their specialty to your goal. Genealogy is vast. For example, if you are compiling lineage documentation to prove descent from a patriot ancestor, you need a researcher who specializes in 18th century records, military pensions, and lineage society applications, rather than someone who specializes in 20th century immigration. A handshake just won't cut it when you're dealing with a professional. Not only should you want a binding contract, but the genealogist should also want the same. A contract between the genealogist and you should clearly define the specific research goal or question, the maximum number of hours authorized, which includes research and writing, the hourly rate and how expenses, such as travel, are handled, and the expected timeline for the final report. Also, you are encouraged to ask to see a work sample from the prospective hire. The genealogist should have available a redacted sample of a client report. You can review this for thorough research and citations, a logical layout of how the genealogist reached their conclusion, and content that is easily understandable. So on this screen, I've shared a snippet of one of my contracts and a snippet of a work sample of mine. So we've all heard the phrase, follow the money, especially when it comes to high sums of cash that someone is asking you to give them. You should not be required to pay upfront fees, wire money for taxes, or buy gift cards. And I'm assuming that's a Visa card or something similar, but maybe someone does have a hot date and is looking for an extra Applebee's card. I don't know. To release your unclaimed inheritance. This scam preys on the hope of a windfall. Legitimate heir hunters, probate researchers, do exist, but their business model is entirely different from scammers. Probate researchers work on contingency. They take a percentage of the estate only after the claim is successfully proven and the estate is settled. If you're handing over a Texas Roadhouse gift card, don't hold your breath on a hefty inheritance. So ask for the name of the company and then do an independent search of this company. In other words, don't use the emails or phone numbers they give you. Do a Better Business Bureau search of the name. Information about living people should never be shared online, especially without their knowledge. While genealogy is based on names, dates, and places, we deal with those in the past, not the present. First, use privacy settings. Anyone living should be identified only as, quote unquote, living. Typically, Ancestry and Family Search do privatize living persons' information when you upload your data to their sites. And if there is no death date noted or death information, Ancestry and Family Search automatically labels them as living. When you share documents in your possession online, ensure information about living people is redacted. Regarding DNA matches, feel excited that you may have met a distant cousin, but also be wary. There's absolutely no need for you to share personal information about yourself or living relatives to a stranger. Share just enough information about a common ancestor to see if they truly are a match. If you provide your entire lineage, they could figure out who you are and your living relatives. So avoid opening doors to identity theft. We wish researching family history gave us instantaneous results. We know that realistically, genealogical research takes time. Reasonably exhaustive research should take time. For the most part, a non-genealogist doesn't realize the work that goes into verifying lineal descent. TV shows do make it seem instant when, in fact, several researchers have worked many hours to produce 30 minutes of 10 plus generations of solid research. So remember, conducting genealogical research is not just finding names, dates, and places. It's reasonably exhaustive research. Writing thorough source citations, analyzing and correlating data found, addressing conflict resolution, and writing your results into a coherent report. A genealogical project is not going to happen overnight. And scammers like to make naive folks think it's a snap to connect you to royalty for a fee. Coats of arms are an entirely different can of worms. It's actually called heraldic fraud. A company that peddles fake coats of arms is called a bucket shop. Of course, it sounds too good to be true. If it sounds too good to be true, then it most likely is. You have every right to research any claim or request presented to you before forking over cash. From Elizabeth Bullard in 2012, quote, any company that purports to be able to provide you with a coat of arms and family history based only on your family name is conducting a scam. So you think you've been scammed. Now what? Protecting yourself from scammers takes 4 steps. Reporting a scammer takes 6 steps. To file a complaint against a genealogist, first attempt to resolve issues directly in writing, documenting all correspondence, contracts, and payments with the genealogist. If that's unresolved, report breaches of ethics or standards to professional bodies like the Association of Professional Genealogists or the Board for Certification of Genealogists. So here is a step-by-step approach. So first, you have discussed this with the genealogist you hired, and you've contacted them directly. You've sent them a formal notice detailing your dissatisfaction, such as unreasonable delays, excessive charging, or unethical behavior. The next step is contact the professional organization that the genealogist is aligned with. If they are a member of APG, you can use their online complaint form. If they are certified or accredited, contact the Board for Certification of Genealogists or ICAP Gen. Just make contact. These organizations take complaints very seriously. The next step is reporting the fraud or unfair practices to your state. So in Indiana, if you suspect fraudulent activity or deception, report it to the Indiana Attorney General's office or your local equivalent if you're outside Indiana. And then if this genealogist is on a social media or a genealogy platform, and the dispute involves that platform, you can contact the site administration regarding terms of services violations. So that could be any number of these platforms. Be prepared to explain how the researcher failed to meet professional standards, such as producing fabricated information or violating confidentiality. So, vet professional researchers. There will be times you hit a brick wall and need to hire an expert. Make sure they are actually an expert. Check for accreditation through recognized organizations like APG. Ensure their specialty matches your specific research goals. And always require a standardized contract before any money changes hands. Spotting inheritance scams. Beware of the unclaimed inheritance. If you get a message claiming a distant wealthy relative has died and you are the heir, put your guard up, just like Jon Marie said. Legitimate probate researchers do exist, but they follow the money rule. They work on contingency and take a percentage at the end. They will never ask you for upfront fees or taxes to release your funds. Protect the living. We deal in names, birthdays, and mother's maiden names, the exact ingredients for identity theft. When you're building your trees online or sharing documents, utilize those privacy settings to hide living relatives. Scrub your shared files and be cautious about how much recent family data you hand over to new DNA matches. And finally, just trust your gut. And like Jon Marie said, be skeptical. Proper genealogy is meticulous, time-consuming work. If a website offers you an instant family history back to the 1500s for $40, or someone reaches out with proof of your royal bloodline for a small fee, walk away. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Genealogy is incredibly rewarding, but because it relies so heavily on historical records and deep emotional connections, it unfortunately makes our community a prime target for scammers. So, to keep your research and your family safe, you need a solid plan of attack. And when you put all of these pieces together, you get a comprehensive security strategy. Stay informed, research smart, and don't let the bad actors discourage you from the incredible work of uncovering your family's history. So, that is all I had to say. I did want to quickly add that what Jon Marie said about an archivist or researcher reaching out to you is highly unlikely. In my 23 years of doing this, not once has anyone ever reached out to me to tell me they found something that I needed for my genealogical research. I've had the same email for at least 23 years. Not once has anyone from an archives, a repository, ever reached out to me. I'm always the one reaching. So, yes, just be careful. And if we have any questions, we're happy to answer. If you put them in the chat.
And while we're waiting to see if anyone has questions, I wanted to bring up, if you get the Family Tree magazine, there's an article. I'm not going to read it to you because of copyright rules, but it talks about what another scam going on where normally we'll go to a website, it's a link, and this one is about a software support link. And what happens is, I don't know if you guys know how this works, but normally you pay to use that domain, to claim that domain. And so sometimes some companies will let domains go and they won't reuse it anymore. Or the business might change a little bit. They decide to, use a different name. So before you go clicking on links, if you're not sure and it's been a while, or if you click on it and it just doesn't seem right, trust your instincts. But if you go, and this is the March April edition. And so, but if you go and read that article, it can kind of give you more information, but that's something else you're going to want to be careful of, because like we said earlier, you don't want to lead to where someone can steal your information. All right.
So very true. And like you mentioned in your part about scammers making their emails look like they come from legitimate organizations by using their logos. The logos I used in my presentation, I
Yeah, I mean,
accessed.
they're easy to
Yeah.
get. I mean, anyone can do it.
Now
And I
they
mean,
are
they
like,
look
yeah.
very legitimate too. I mean, they even have the, if they can get an
Mhm.
email from the company, they'll actually copy the whole format the same.
Mhm. It's sad. It's,
Yeah.
and all the logos I use are trademarked. So those are the property of those organizations. I did use AI for this as far as graphics. But uh I don't know, the intelligent property, I guess. I don't
Our wisdom that we're putting out, but AI
that all
helped
came from
us to
my,
put
yeah.
the images together, the slides
Yeah.
together.
And I am embarrassed to say how long it took me to try to figure out how to take this image on the screen, make it a 4-piece jigsaw puzzle so that I could spin the pieces into place.
I was noticing that. I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. Oh,
Oh, well, I couldn't figure it out. And so
yeah.
what you got is the sad attempt. Um, it is possible you have to layer a jigsaw puzzle on top of this image and merge it and fragment it. And I could get to that point, but when I took the pieces apart, it left little
Didn't.
traces. And so it just, so finally I said, I need to get this done.
Yeah.
So
You can
this
only
is
play with it for so long.
yeah. So yeah, I just chopped it into 4, left the middle intact, and oh goodness gracious. Um, okay. Do you see any comments?
No, I
Okay.
do not.
Okay, that's fine. This will be recorded, and if anyone does leave a question or comment, it'll come to me through email, and so we can get back to you that way. Um, so I guess I will go on with some IGS announcements.
That works.
Registration for the annual conference is live. You can scan the QR code here to go directly to registration, or you can head on over to the event details page on the IGS website. And the URL is there above the QR code. To get there easily, just go to the IGS webpage, home page, scroll down until you see annual conference, and there's a button that says event details, and that will take you to the page. And there are more details on that page, such as detailed information about each day's sessions, and there's a hotel code. And there's also a button that says register, and that will take you to the registration. And if you are an IGS member, you do receive a 50% discount. So if you are not a member, you can join IGS first and then you'll receive a welcome email right away that includes that promo code. And then you can register for the conference using the promo code. It's the promo code is good for the 2-day registration only. So that is live, and registration will be open through April 13th. Let's see, our next Hoosier Roots Live is April 7th at 6:30 here on YouTube. And it's going to be about modern genealogy. Modern genealogy, how it is changing how we research. And you can read here on the slide what it's about. A lot of what we discuss in Writer Sig kind of goes to AI and how we're using that. And I believe Jon Marie is going to talk about let's see. Oh, that might be Writer Sig. I think that's Writer Sig.
Oh,
Sorry.
That's good.
Sorry. Got ahead of myself. So the genealogical research landscape is changing, and it's changing fast. Join the conversation to learn more, ask questions, and share your own experiences. So this might wind up being like a roundtable discussion.
And we'll share some of our tips on how we're implementing modern genealogy to help us actually research better and,
Yep. Or what tools we're using on
Yep.
The genealogy platforms
Yeah.
that they've instituted. So the Writer Sig.
He's excited about this one.
Yeah. Well, it will be inspiring beyond the journal, where else your family stories can live. So this is a chance for Writer Sig members to explore where their ancestor stories can live outside the Indiana Genealogist Journal and the IGS newsletter. Many of us have pieces that deserve a broader audience or topics that don't quite fit a single publication. So this session introduces other magazines, local history publications, genealogy news, and digital platforms that welcome family history writing. We'll talk about how to make a story, to match a story to the right venue, and how to shape a submission so it stands out. The goal is to help writers feel confident submitting to the Indiana Genealogist Journal or the IGS newsletter, while also giving their work room to travel farther when the story calls for it. And someone did reach out to me about adding images to a Word document. So I'm going to share a tech tip on how to do that. And this was where I mentioned that Jon Marie was going to talk about using the Story Journal.
Yeah, I think it's called Story Journal.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different ones. There's new ones popping out all the time, but yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want, we do this via Zoom, and I send out the link a day or so before the meeting. So if you want to be on the email list, just send me an email at publications@indiegenes.org. And I'll add you to the list. And also we have the private Facebook group too. I didn't add this on the slide. But if you join the private Facebook group, we try to get that Zoom link out there too. Either way, just email me at publications@indiegenes.org. So thank you all for joining us this evening. If there's anything else that anyone would like to add, check the comments again.
And I'd also like to recommend, if you guys have come into a scam, go ahead and comment below about that scam. It's just going to be a way for us to know what's going on. And so it's great to always read those and find out. So,
yeah. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, there's probably so many that we don't know about.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
So we look forward
Nope,
to
no
seeing you in,
questions.
okay. Look forward to seeing y'all in April, either here at the Writer Sig or at the annual conference.
Absolutely. Bye, you
All right.
guys.
Bye bye.